Good one, son.
News. A billionaire is having geese problems and what that may mean for Connecticut residents. The growing opioid crisis and airline changes that will affect you. These stories and more are coming up on NCC News. Stay tuned.
Good one, son.
Last summer, my new dad took me on vacation. First, we went deep sea fishing.
Wow! I'm so proud of you, son.
And then we went on Thunder Shark.
That was awesome! Let's go again!
3 times. I gotta say, it was pretty cool.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Oh, not again.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer.
Let's go on the internet. Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I see dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
I fainted at the sight of blood. Me, a nurse? I had no idea that's what I'd be when I went to NCC. But NCC is not like other colleges.
NCC has a Student Success Center where counselors assist every student in creating a future.
I'm so happy. Nurse Robbins. I created that.
Be who you want to be. Create your future at NCC.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Hello, I'm Lynn
The
Nicholas.
aisles were empty, and so
In our lead story, people in Tennessee are still talking about the bear that went inside of a candy shop. The bear caused quite a commotion in downtown Gatlinburg. Laura Holm reports.
the aisles were empty, and so it was the perfect time to tidy up.
And there was a lot of screaming and yelling going on.
Please come in. This was what all that was about.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, he went in.
So Tina Ocker, who works at Aunt Mahalia's Candies, popped her head out.
Come walking around here like this, and there was a bear standing right there. And I kind of like looked at it like this. I said, hang on one moment, and I'll be right back. I turned around, I walked back to the door, and I yelled, Amy, there's a bear out here.
As quickly as he went into the shop, the bear went out.
Poor thing. Believe me, I would have gave him everything.
Visitors have been sharing videos like this and stories.
It's pretty wild.
October is a busy month for Gatlinburg and bears who call the Smokies home.
Bears are spending the majority of their time just eating right now.
And that's why we're seeing them so much. Bears are now moving to find other food sources.
They're somewhat tolerant of people this time of year, and so one of the key things is to keep your distance.
Wildlife biologists are stressing a bear's behavior is unpredictable. So if you see one in the park, you must stay at least 50 yards away. In downtown Gatlinburg, you're asked to never approach a bear. Everyone this night believes the bear ran off, but they don't know where. The only thing he left behind?
The big old bear print on the rug.
And while it was a first for this shop, they hope it's the last.
I love bears, but I don't want to be that close to them.
There is only one country in the world where women cannot drive, and soon there will be none. Saudi Arabia announced last month that women will finally be allowed to drive, starting June of next year. Speaking to CNN's Hala Gorani, a spokeswoman for the Saudi embassy in Washington described the decision as an indication of what is going to come.
It is a big moment in Saudi history, but in parallel to that, women have been building up. This policy has kind of been building up to facilitate women's access into the public space for several years. So we've seen women incrementally go into several different industries, enter into the politic. There are executive appointments. The Saudi Stock Exchange is chaired by a woman. There are airports chaired by women. Women are participating as electors and electees in municipal elections. His Royal Highness King Salman, the Shura Council, the Consultative Council, has women appointments to it as well. So I think this is a buildup of a continuum that's already been taking place over the last few years, and it's a signal and an indication of...
Another challenge the White House faces: the fallout from an ambush in Niger that left 4 U.S. soldiers dead. It involved what is known as authorization for use of military force and was implemented following the 9/11 terror attacks. In a congressional hearing on Monday, some lawmakers argued that a U.S. presence in Niger is an example of how the measure is being stretched far beyond its original purpose. David McKenzie has more from the Nigerian capital. David?
Area investigators dig into what exactly happened in that deadly ambush in Niger. Some top lawmakers say they were left in the dark on the West African mission.
I didn't know there was 1,000 troops in Niger.
Did you know how many men and women were on the ground in Niger and what they're doing there?
I did not.
The Pentagon insists it kept Congress informed of the operation, and the White House says it notified congressional leaders in June about troops conducting counterterrorism duties in Niger and Cameroon. But some lawmakers say it wasn't enough.
We don't know exactly what happened, both to Sergeant Johnson. We have no clue what the conditions were.
Among the questions still lingering, how Sergeant LaDavid Johnson was separated from his 12-member team as it was ambushed. His body wasn't recovered until 48 hours later.
No matter where I was in Iraq, we always had a head count. The fact that a U.S. American soldier went missing tells us that a lot of things went wrong.
On ABC's Good Morning America, Sergeant Johnson's widow talking about the lack of answers.
I don't know how he got killed, where he got killed, or anything. I don't know that part.
The ambush also putting a spotlight on President Trump's dealings with Gold Star families. In the interview, Maisha Johnson was also critical of the condolence call from President Trump, confirming Florida Congresswoman Frederica Wilson's claim the call was disrespectful. President Trump on Twitter disputed the widow's account and has traded barbs with the Congresswoman for nearly a week.
The opioid crisis in the U.S. isn't going away. According to the CDC, in 2015, 62 people died every day from prescription opioids. That number is now estimated to be even higher. John Lawrence reports.
President Trump says the U.S. can no longer ignore its opioid crisis, saying it's
a national emergency.
On Thursday, Mr. Trump is expected to make that declaration official. Once opioids are classified as a national emergency, states and federal agencies will have access to more resources to combat the issue.
Right now we see delays from when patients are able to enter treatment, and because we do not have residential treatment in our community or opioid-specific detox. So these are some things that we're diligently working on.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports more than 22,000 people died from prescription opioids in 2015. That was an increase from about 19,000 deaths from the year before. So how did opioids become such a problem?
Everyone should have known that these were addictive drugs, but doctors were duped. They were told that there was less than 1% chance of getting addicted as long as you were under a doctor's care.
Former Mississippi Attorney General Mike Moore got the biggest corporate settlement in U.S. history from the tobacco industry. Now he's tackling big pharma.
It should have been a market maybe $300 or $400 million a year, and they wanted to grow it to a $5 or $6 billion a year. So it's pretty much, money over people's lives.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Travelers flying to the U.S. on international flights will now need to get to the airport earlier. Several airlines are now interviewing all passengers heading for U.S. airports. Now, enhanced security measures designed to detect explosives and electronic devices kicked in Thursday. Many airlines are conducting security interviews with all passengers as part of the check-in process as part of new regulations. The new Department of Homeland Security measure comes after the U.S. banned all carry-on laptops from certain airports in Turkey, the Middle East, and Africa in March. That ban was lifted in July after the U.S. instituted new security requirements and gave airlines 120 days to comply. Thursday marks the end of that grace period, Any airline that fails to meet these new standards could face a full laptop ban for all of its passengers.
Billionaire Tom Golisano wants the town of Bristol to pay for his geese problem. He says there are sometimes up to 200 on his property at a time, and this property is unusable with the amount of waste they leave behind. Danny McBride has the details on what Golisano wants to do now.
$90,000 school tax checks written, dated, and covered, just not delivered.
Well, I can't use my property the way it's situated now with this geese problem. I have a huge tax bill that I have to pay every year.
His solution? Since he does not live at his Canandaigua Lake home 24/7, he could hire someone to live on the property and chase the geese away. But he would want the town of Bristol to foot the bill. They won't.
And I have to pay for it. And I don't think I should have to do that. At least I should be able to subtract it from my tax bill.
Besides these unwelcome visits, these guests are leaving behind a little gift, and Golisano is saying it's becoming a health hazard.
Either going into the water or just staying on the property, aggregated in large amounts like that.
Having tried just about everything to get rid of the geese with no luck, he reached out to the town of Bristol and the DEC. They supposedly had no other solution to the problem. Golisano adds because the town won't help, he's fighting back.
I think I've done a lot for this community, and these small towns have continued to stick it to me. And I think it's time that changed.
If Golisano continues to hold his school tax payment, he risks foreclosure. However, he says he does not foresee that.
Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not planning on retiring anytime soon. And here's the story.
Ginsburg was asked about retirement at a recent Virginia event. She said she intends to stay on the job as long as she can do it full steam. Ginsburg is 84 years old and has been asked numerous times about her future plans. She said she used to say she expected to stay as long as Justice Brandeis, who stayed for 23 years after being appointed at the age of 60. But Ginsburg says she can't say that anymore since she's already surpassed Brandeis' time on the bench. This is Josue Vilson with NCC The Voice News.
When we come back, NCC hosted a reading for someone close to the institution in a club fair that drew much attention for its members. Those stories and more when we come back.
All right, I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
What college are you going to?
I don't know.
What do you want to be?
I don't know. My parents want me to be an architect.
Architect?
Yeah, but it's my future. I want to do something that turns me on.
What turns you on?
I don't know.
We know NCC has a student success center where counselors assist every student in creating a future.
You'd make a cute pirate.
I don't know.
We know. Be who you want to be. Create your future at NCC.
That's low. That's low.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextstoprex.org.
This year, Norwell Community College hosted a club fair where students came out to represent their respective clubs. More on the story now.
NCC hosted a club event where different clubs from around the school gathered to showcase their club and what they had to offer to students. Members from each club set up booths where they talked about their clubs and what their missions were.
The student government's mission this year is to really create a friendly, diverse college, as well as not only that, but open up our opportunities for the students. We also would like to establish more NCC pride in the spirit here at school.
Pride and unity were big topics for each club, especially the African American one.
I joined this club because of a sense of unity and community. Usually you see a whole bunch of people of my skin color banded together. It's usually something negative on a street corner. So to see a whole bunch of people gathered up for something positive, it just had me gravitate towards that naturally. So that's why I'm glad to be part of this club.
Not every club had such a serious undertone. Many clubs, which the students gathered over common interests in extracurricular activities such as the anime club and the dancing club.
So we dance basically mostly all year round, fall and spring semester. We have a couple of showcases coming up. We also have some restaurants that we're dancing with, fundraising, making some money for them. We're doing YMCA, teaching there. And then we have spring fling in the spring. Basically just dance, have a good time.
NCC hosted a reading for his very own Maria Rosenberg, who recently published her first book. We have the story right now.
Norwalk Community College hosted an open reading by adjunct Professor Maria Rosenberg. Rosenberg read a few chapters of her book, Indian and Bamboo, and talked about what inspired her to become a writer.
So the thing that actually inspired me to write this book is that I was taking a class at Manhattanville College when I was slowly getting a master's in writing, and the class was called Writing for Middle Grade and Young Adult Audiences, and we had to write a chapter a week. So I didn't have this book in mind when I started the class. The professor gave us a couple of assignments, and from those assignments the book started. So one of the assignments was to write a character with a strong voice. And a kid, because it's a writing, you know, they're supposed to be kids. So that's how I came up with Indiana Bamboo. And her voice really, once I wrote that, that was her.
Rosenberg also talked about her days in elementary school, which the book Indiana Bamboo is mostly about, and how long she has been working on her writing in the book itself.
Well, so I've been writing kind of forever, and you know, I told the audience there that I was actually an economics major in college, and I'm a lawyer. I went to law school, and then I even became a tax lawyer. I went to more law school, but I always liked to write, and I used to write essays and short stories sometimes, and I liked writing picture book texts. That's, you know, just a story, but I'm not an artist, so I can't do the art.
This semester, Rosenberg teaches college form in English 088. This is her 9th year teaching at NCC. Rosenberg was honored with the Excalibur Award from the Tennessee Mountain Writers for her novel. It was published when her kids went back in elementary school, and she decided to go back to school herself to get her master's in fine arts. She continues to teach at NCC and will do so for many years to come. This is NCC The Voice News, and I'm Josue Vilson.
The Voice is NCC's newspaper that showcases young, talented, up-and-coming writers who have a passion for writing. Many of these students learn new writing skills and get the opportunity to network with potential people they may be working with in the future. Here's a story now.
NCC Voice is an independent student-run publication whose aim is to inform and enlighten the college community. Their goal is to establish and maintain an atmosphere of free and responsible journalism in an engaging and entertaining format. Editorial work is all done by the students themselves.
I love writing on The Voice. I love learning about AP-style journalism. I found it really interesting. At first, I thought this was just going to be like something I had to learn to kind of broaden my field for TV and film because I was like, I should probably learn all forms of media and all forms of style so I can be easily like thrown into the field and adjust quickly. So I did this for my personal sake, and I was like, cool.
Students gather every week and sit down and discuss the articles that they're going to write by what affects them, and through that gain their experiences.
My experience so far has been, I actually love it. It's fun coming here. I feel like everyone gets along. You know, if you're looking to join this club, I would highly suggest it. It's a great, like I said, it's a great way to meet people and learn a new skill, you know, in writing. So yeah.
Experience in meeting new people is not the only thing some students gain. Many work on their writing skills.
My writing skills has gotten better. I learned to actually have less grammar problems, less fragment problems than like when I was in my English 88 last semester, and even now I actually make sure that I don't have that fragment going on or misspellings, double checking all my work to make sure that my grammar is good, my punctuation is good. So far journalism is actually helping me out.
They will take these newly skills in their future in news writing. This is Josue Vilson with NCC The Voice News.
You might hear the term, you're never too old to go back to school before. Well, no group of people embodies this saying more than the members of the Lifetime Learners Institution. Josue Vilson reports.
Lifetime Learners Institute is an independent, nonprofit institute for lifelong learning within Norwalk Community College. Their purpose is to offer non-credit educational programs for residents age 50 or older.
What do I like most about LLI? Well, I like a lot of things. I think I like most the courses. Every fall and every spring, they have 40 or more courses on a whole spectrum of subjects. Anybody with any interest in any field will find something to be interested in.
Many of the people in the Lifetime Learners are not only students, but also teachers who volunteer their time.
And I've been teaching at Lifetime Learners since fall 2015. I've had scores of students in my genealogy classes. They are fabulous, they are eager, they're enthusiastic. It is so fun to be their teacher.
The over 900 members come from all of the Fairfield and Westchester counties and are eager to learn despite their ages.
And you're never too old to learn, and you can learn either by coming here and taking courses or teaching. I was so interested, I started teaching courses and instructing, and it's been nothing but fun, and I'll keep it up as long as I can.
Despite their age, many Lifetime Learners keep a youthful spirit when it comes to learning.
The energy here is fantastic. It really lifts your spirit being part of this environment, and anyone who's over 50, who's got some time on their hands, they really should try this out.
What do I like most about LLI? Well, I like a lot of things. I think I like most the courses. Every fall and every spring, they have 40 or more courses on a whole spectrum of subjects. Anybody with any interest in any field will find something to be interested in.
This is Josue Vilson with NCC The Voice.
When we come back, we get to meet our director, and some veterans get quite a lot of love in Norwalk. Stay tuned.
Here. Michael Adams. Here. Michael Adams.
Michael Adams.
Students who miss 18 days of school in any grade risk falling behind and not graduating. Absences add up. Keep track at boostattendance.org today.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
directing a television show is not something that's easily done. With the hard work that it takes, some directors even go unheard of. Well, today, we get to meet the director of this show.
All right, my name is Josue Vilson. I'm currently studying film at NCC. And a little bit about me so you can know a little about the director that just watched the program, that made the program you just watched. From Boston, Massachusetts originally. That's where I was born and raised most of my life, most of my youth growing up. Love the city, love all the teams. But there came a point where I had to leave. And when I did leave, I left for the military at 19. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. Met a lot of good people there, a lot of friends, and learned a lot that made me the man I am today. After that, I spent a short amount of time in New York, about 2 years, where I lived in New York, just working in various jobs before I moved here to Connecticut to go to NCC to pursue my real dream, which is TV and film. And ever since then, I've been having a real good time doing that. I learned a lot from my TV1 and TV2 projects. I'm real proud of those. As I learned how to use the camera and everything that the professors taught me, made me an even better cameraman and better producer, better editor, and everything. A little about, on my leisurely time, I'm big into boxing and MMA, football, of course. I just like the nightlife. I like going out, just hanging with friends, conversating with people, and hopefully, once I graduate, I'll be able to travel the world, doing TV and film, filming things, editing it, and bringing my passion, my vision of what I see through the camera.
With all the talk about respect for the troops going on today, few people pay attention to the real troubles our veterans go through. Today, we have a special piece about both veterans and civilians who take the time out of their day to make sure those heroes are not forgotten.
name is Diana Venegas. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I am the co-president of the Veterans Club.
I am Aaron Karsh. I am a National Guard member, and I'm Charles Palmer, and similar to Diana, I am a Marine Corps veteran. I enlisted at the age of 17 in 2012.
I had a few people, like my parents, they weren't in the military, and they said, hey, you don't have to eat so fast, you don't have to like run everywhere. I was just walking. I thought I was just walking, but they thought I was running, and I was like, okay, I'll just take a step back, look, and calm down.
Staff Sergeant?
I think that if they go to school, they should definitely be involved with the Veterans Club because we all like help each other out transitioning.
There's a wealth of information. So a lot of people who are transitioning are familiar with certain GI bills and education benefits available to them.
While those are passing around, we'd like to read a poem, Soldiers Who Protect Our Nation, for their service as our warriors. They deserve our...
Well, I tell you, students are indeed my first priority, but I must admit that my father-in-law, he served for 35 years in the Navy, and though I was not a military kid, I'm always appreciative of his level of service and his commitment to our country, and so I make a commitment to support persons who've given their all for our country as well.
That's pretty good.
What's going on here?
Well, tonight's event is about Help Our Military Heroes. It's an organization based out of Easton, Connecticut, and what they do is they acquire vans for disabled veterans, and since the price is so high, they really help. One of the minivans could go for about $90,000, and they've donated about 93 already, if I'm not mistaken. And anything to do with a grassroots, community-oriented organization is best for what veterans are really going for here at Sacred Heart University.
When I got out, I started school at Sacred Heart, and I had a few buddies actually ended up so I had a few buddies that I served with take their lives, and that actually kind of really impacted my life when I was in school. It made me rethink my career, rethink everything about everything. So I started going to school for physical therapy to get back to help rehab veterans so I could get back to their everyday life.
Well, the military is really the only reason I'm doing this. Everything that I learned in the Marine Corps really comes from a brotherhood and a sisterhood. Like, we're all a close-knit family, and it just feels right giving back to my brothers and sisters.
Comic-Con is always a fun event to attend, and the only place outside Halloween where adults can dress up. Here's a story.
Hundreds of artists and vendors and some 100,000 fans filled a hall at the Los Angeles Convention Center this weekend for the 7th year of Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con, which bills itself as the only pop culture convention owned and operated by true pop culture icons.
Hi everybody, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Drew Carey received the con's Comedy Legend Award, but he seemed more interested in the vintage memorabilia being bought and sold.
That's one thing, honestly, that these conventions and like this nerd culture has taught us, is to hang on to your valuables when you're a kid,
because it could be worth money someday.
Another Comic-Con VIP, Kevin Smith, says he loves the Marvel movies that Stan Lee helped create, but he wouldn't want to direct one.
I'd rather just sit back and enjoy those movies rather than be like, well, how do I get in there? Because then you're hustling. And then you're not appreciating it for what it is. You're trying to approach it from another way. Well, here's how I do it. Because then I could just go enjoy it pure fan and never once see myself in those proceedings other than in the audience cheering them on.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Are you a big coffee drinker? Well, you might want to put that cup of Joe down. Here is our story.
A good old cup of Joe. A cup of Joe can jumpstart any morning, but too much coffee can be bad for your health. Researchers say healthy adults can consume up to 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. That's about 4 8-ounce cups of coffee. If you need to cut back on caffeine, keep a diary. Jot down what you drink and when. And look at your diet. Caffeine can be found in coffee, tea, soda, and chocolate. It's also in energy bars and pain medicines. If you're looking to cut back, try tea or other coffee alternatives. Black or green teas can slash the caffeine count while still providing a punch. Also, know your body, anticipate cravings, and prepare for them. If you need a pick-me-up in the afternoon, try breathing exercises. Or get up from your desk and go for a short walk. Cutting caffeine can be daunting, but simple small changes can make a big difference. For today's Health Minute, I'm Reed Binion.
Please join us next time for more NCC News. I'm Lynn Nicholas.
And I'm Jennifer Now. Thank you, and have a good night. On our next show, residents in Florida are not happy after a storm left many homes damaged. Join us on the next episode of NCC News.